Hello friends, thank you for tuning in for the review of the Wurkkos HD05. This is a follow-up version of the HD02 that they released earlier. It was very similar to this, but for this side floodlight it had two on both sides. It had one, and then it also had a laser, which they have omitted from this version. Here we have a slight textured orange peel reflector. We have a red light and a UV light. This is the spotlight, obviously, and that is the rotating swivel floodlight. The light operates on one 21700 battery. I have a different battery in here now. 21700 lithium-ion battery. Has a very, very strong magnet on the tail cap. There we go. No issues holding it. Very useful light for EDC and for DIYers, I would say, due to the strong magnet, the ability to rotate and point this floodlight to your work area. And because of the UV red light and the very strong spotlight, which does a maximum of 3100 lumens on the max brightness mode. It's a great EDC light or camping light also. This would serve as a good camping light. Let me quickly run through the numbers. The max brightness on the spotlight is 3100 lumens for 1.5 minutes. Then it will step down to 950 lumens for another 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's a stepless mode, so we don't have medium, low, high, etc. We have the maximum, then the minimum. The minimum light output on this is 7 lumens for 254 hours. And then in between you set it wherever you like. Double click gives you the turbo mode, and triple click will give you the strobe mode, as you saw there. On the floodlight, we have 300 lumens for 4 minutes. So again, works the same way. Double click, there's the max output of 300 lumens for 4 minutes. Then it will step down to 260 lumens for 4 hours and 30 minutes. The minimum brightness on this, if you push down, that's the minimum brightness of 4.5 lumens for 259 hours. I like how Wurkkos gives exact numbers on the light output. They could have rounded this up to 260, but they didn't, which I appreciate. So that's for the floodlight. Also, this rotating button is what I want to point out. This operates very well. Nice, clicky feeling, sturdy. And we have also stepless increase and decrease on the red light. Max output being 90 lumens for 3 minutes, and then it steps down to 50 lumens for 11 hours and 13 minutes. The minimum brightness is 8 lumens for 62 hours and 17 minutes. Some crazy numbers on the runtime here. And we have a strobe, 1, 2, 3. There we go. This should be giving out 85 lumens. There's no runtime on this. For the UV, we have 2 light outputs. It charges up the watch, as you can see. We have 1600 milliwatts, which is this one. That'll run for 4 hours and 27 minutes. And then the low, we only have 2 brightness levels, and it is a step mode. 700 milliwatts for the low mode for 11 hours and 16 minutes. Nice, very sturdy clip, almost deep carry. And I like how the screws here are recessed and flush almost. Not fully flush, but they're almost flush. So they shouldn't be tearing up your pocket lip. Really like the flashlight. I do wish that it had a laser. We've been spoiled with all these multifunctional capabilities of contemporary flashlights. I would actually exchange the red light. I don't really use a red light too often, but that varies per user, right? So you may have the need of a red light, but for my personal use, I would actually prefer a laser instead of a red light. But then we have now flashlights that combine in such a small form factor a killer spotlight, floodlight, a laser, and a UV light. So I'm sure they could squeeze something in here in terms of an additional laser function. Overall, I don't know why the HD05 costs more than the HD02, even though the HD05 HD02 is, for my use, a bit more of a capable flashlight. I don't know, but the price I do think is justified. It is a very robustly built, good, capable, multifunctional flashlight. Here's the charging port. We haven't touched on that. Wurkkos usually has simple but very effective silicone ports for the charging ports, so I quite like that. And the button also does give you the battery indication of your battery level or battery health. So now let's look at some of the outside shots to see how the HD05 performs. As we've already discussed, the HD05 is a follow-up, shrunk down version of the HD02 with the exclusion of a laser. The HD02 had a laser and two of these side lights. Let's start with this side light. It turns on automatically as we turn it out, and then of course it rotates. So 180 degrees it rotates that way, and this, I believe it's 120 degrees maybe, it comes out. And then by the push of the button, the UI is very simple. So when it blinked there, that tells us that it's at max, and that is the max output of this side light. Let's turn it down again. Now it stopped at the lowest point. Now let's move into the main lights, which will be, let's start with the UV. On UV we have two intensities. We have 1600 milliwatts, so 1600 milliwatts for 4 hours and 27 minutes. And that's the current high mode, and the low mode on the UV is 700 milliwatt. It'll do this for 11 hours and 16 minutes. So for the red light we have, that's the max, so 90 lumens for 3 minutes, then it'll step down to 50 lumens for 11 hours and 13 minutes. That's a long run time, but again we do have a 21700 battery cell inside. Minimum brightness, it also has a turbo mode by double clicking, and that is the highest, the 90 lumen, which will run for 3 minutes. Then if we want the low 8 lumen red light, you hold down, it goes down, and this is the 8 lumen red light output. That will go for 62 hours and 17 minutes. Very impressive numbers. Wurkkos does a great job with this. That's the beacon or SOS. That should be outputting at 85 lumens. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So let's now switch to the main light. That's the main light. You hold down, it has a smooth ramp up. It blinked, that means it's at maximum output. So on the spotlight, we have 3100 lumens that will run. Let's move around here. So very capable flashlight. As you can see, that's about 40 yards. So let's move out here, light it at some trees. So I'm lighting up that house, which is about 200 yards. So about 180 meters, 190 meters, maybe even 200 meters away. And that's at 3100 lumens. That'll run for 1.5 minutes. It'll step down to 950 lumens for 2 hours and 15 minutes. The minimum brightness on this, again, this is not a stepped mode. So that is the minimum brightness of 7 lumens. That will go for 254 hours. You can easily orientate yourself, move around on your dark trails, etc. So that's 10 days of runtime on this brightness. The floodlight mode will be with this flip out light. So let me max it out. That's the max of 300 lumens. 4 minutes, and then it'll step down to 260 lumens for 4 hours and 30 minutes. And the minimum brightness is 4.5 lumens. So that's the minimum brightness, 4.5 lumens for 259 hours. Okay, let's finish off on the desk. Overall, I do recommend this flashlight. Wurkkos is my favorite brand, or my #1 brand for affordable but quality flashlights. They make all kinds of stuff: diving lights, EDC lights, clip lights. So make sure that you check out the link in the description below. That is an affiliate link. I do get a bit of a kickback if you do use those links, which is no additional charge to you, of course, but does help out the channel to go on bringing you some interesting EDC items. Thank you very much. Please like the video, share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and if you'd like to see more cool EDC gadgets and items, and stay safe.